Hey, what up, Flowmies? It's Gabe, and it is time for the ITF Flowcast. I am so excited. We have a special edition today. We have a forum of just multi-talented, super, just wonderful people who happen to be window cleaners. We're so happy to have them on here. And the reason why I wanted to have them all on is because this episode is going to be for people who are either one, thinking of starting their business, or perhaps have already started their business and are kind of struggling a little bit. We're going to talk about all the ins and outs of business ownership, things that we wish we would have known when we got started. And we're hopefully going to be able to give you enough nuggets that you can find one or two things that can really change the trajectory of your business or the decision-making process that you have with that. So we want to welcome Jeremiah. We want to welcome Sterling, Chris, Melody, and of course, Squeegee Master Flash, Mr. Dan, the man. And so why don't we go ahead and have each of you just say your name, say your business name, where you're from, and how long you've been in business. So we can start with Jeremiah. Why don't you go ahead and start?
Hello, everyone. Jeremiah Hickey, on the spot window cleaning. Been in business since 1998 here on the Central Coast of California.
Awesome. Sterling?
Sterling Alexander, in San Antonio, Texas, and I have been in business since 2008 in window cleaning, pressure washing.
Awesome. Chris?
Chris, Vineyard View window cleaning based out of Northern California. I've been in the industry 15 years, but I've owned my own business for 5 of those years.
Awesome. Melody?
Melody Edwards of Western Massachusetts. I was a window cleaner for 28 years, owned companies for almost 20 of those, and recently sold my window cleaning back in 2020. And now do holiday lights, and also I'm a virtual assistant matchmaker for business owners.
Very cool. Before we get your input on starting businesses, since you've done one in the past and also very recent. And then also, Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Dan Renard. I'm from the seacoast of New Hampshire.
Neighbors.
Next to Maine. Yeah, exactly. My fellow New Englander there.
Yeah.
So, little over 20 years in the window cleaning business as an owner.
Very cool. All right. Well, we look forward to getting all of your input. So we're going to start with the very first question that I thought is important because, I don't know about you guys. I bought the business off of a friend, parts. It was just accounts, right? It was about $900 a month in these really bad storefronts that he just didn't want to deal with anymore. $10 here, $15 there. And I didn't know a thing about owning a business. I knew very little about cleaning windows, and I was just kind of thrown in. And there's a lot of things that I wish I would have known. So first off, the first question we're going to talk about is, what are the biggest mistakes you see new business owners make? And you guys can feel free to talk. You can raise your hand. I'll call on you however you want to do it. It's going to be a free-flowing conversation here. So what are the biggest mistakes you see new business owners make?
I've seen go ahead, Jeremiah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I had an opportunity to talk to some of the newer, guys that are coming into pressure washing. They bought a lot of equipment, and then didn't have the experience and didn't know how to market, and just stopped doing what they're doing because they found it unsuccessful. They didn't plan well enough, I thought.
Yeah, so buying equipment without really knowing how to use that's a big one. Jeremiah?
I think when guys start out a lot of the time, including myself, you think that you made $100 is $100 profit, and you made it in however fast you made it, and that's not how business operates. When you first start out, you think that's you got to make it for every case, and it's just not. So understanding what profit margins are early on makes a big difference.
Excellent. Profit margin. So there's a cost to doing business, right? Keeping that in mind.
Actually, that's a great point, Jeremiah, because I feel like, and I'm so guilty of this, I had no idea how to run a business when I bought my mentor's company. And I still feel sometimes like I don't know how to run a business, even though I've done it forever. But not thinking about it as a business, being so invested in the techie side of things, which was my badge of honor. Like, I'm going to be the fastest window cleaner, the best window cleaner. You're also building a business. So knowing how to do numbers, understanding, that's the number one thing I think that really will help you succeed or fail.
Nice. Dan?
Scratching glass. I think at some point or another, we've all scratched some glass, and a lot of times that occurs in our first few years in business because we don't have the knowledge and the experience yet. So I think scratching glass is a key mistake that's made by a lot of new people in the industry.
Yeah.
Well, in our defense, back in the day, we didn't know any of because glass was good back in the day.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, Chris.
I would say my first most important bit of advice is I think one thing that we all are guilty of is preparing for tax season.
Oh yeah.
That was that was my biggest thing. My first year of business, I go, oh my gosh, I made X amount. And then I go, my tax guy goes, well, your business now owes this much. And I go,
oh,
so you mean to tell me that I need to pay taxes being self-employed? And the tax man said, absolutely. So taxes, you can buy a book to you can buy a book to figure out and read how to run a business, but being prepared for the little things for longevity, if you owe the tax man X amount, that cuts into next year's profit because now you're trying to play catch up. So taxes is my number one thing.
Yep.
Can I jump in on that one? I want to say shout out to my wife. She was a tax preparer before I started the business, and her parents are self-employed and always saw the tax struggle. And she just said, "Hey, we're going to put a third of everything we earn in a separate account for taxes, because by the time we're done, you're going to be glad it's there." And that's how we started out. We just always started out setting aside for taxes. And now as a corporation, we just pay it all the time. You always stay up on your taxes in general. But in the beginning, we pulled a full third out of our gross just to cover taxes.
Yeah. So Jeremiah's advice to you is to marry an accountant or a bookkeeper. Don't start a business unless you marry an accountant or bookkeeper. I'm sorry, Dan.
I did get I was just saying, advice. Especially in California, Jeremiah has to pay a little few more taxes than the rest of us. Here in New Hampshire, we don't pay any state income tax, and we do not pay any sales tax.
Stop bragging, you New Hampshire people.
Oh man,
I live in Massachusetts, so
Massachusetts.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Melody.
Something good advice my dad gave me long ago. If you don't love it, don't do it. I had a tax bill at one point that took me 2 years to pay off because I hate dealing with the money part, the details of all of that stuff. Hire a bookkeeper. It is worth every penny to have that out of your hair. Concentrate on running your business.
And just have someone remind you when things are due, right?
Or do it.
I always forget that. I'd always like, hey, time to do this. Oh, okay. Sign here. Okay, sign it. And I'm done. Absolutely. Sterling, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say that was some wonderful advice I got from a friend. She worked for the IRS and she worked in the commercial division. And that's one thing she said is pay your taxes. She said you never want to fall behind and have someone come visit you. So that was the one thing that I did learn is that we made sure those 941s were done.
The one thing that I would contribute to this, and it's closely tied along with the tax discussion, is don't forget to structure your business early on. So if you can make yourself at least an LLC or an S Corp or something, but distinguish yourself from your personal space. Because what I did was I intermixed, right? As soon as I got the check from the customer, that went to my personal account. And then that just became a nightmare as to how to figure out how to how to be taxed. And then of course, if you're a sole proprietor, now you're paying double tax, right? You're getting tax for it coming in, getting tax for it coming out. So you're paying way more tax than if you would have just structured your business as an LLC or S Corp or even a C Corp, depending on where your business is when you start. If you just do that at the beginning, your taxes are going to be lower. You're not gonna have to worry. You can make yourself an employee, which is what we do, and then now your personal taxes are going to be lower, and so everything is, and then it also allows you to pay yourself salary. So that was the other biggest mistake I made was, and when I get the money in, I'd spend it as soon as I got it, instead of just becoming a salary employee. And even if I had a great month, that stayed in the account. And then when I had the slow month, now I had something I can draw off of, and it kept the peaks and the valleys from being too far, ahead. So that was one thing I just didn't know. I just did it because we needed the money. So I'd take a disbursement, and like Chris said, you'd show up, oh, this is what I owe in taxes. Oh, Guess I need to wash some dishes on the side here to get that paid off.
I think reading Profit First for me changed everything. A lot of people who come into this industry we want money, but we don't know how to manage money. We were never taught how to manage money, and we're not naturally gifted at that. Reading Profit First was the first time that I understood, like, I don't like numbers, but I love percentages. So much easier for my brain to handle. And so I had so much success using that method. And for anybody who struggles with money, that is what I would recommend. Read that book.
Yeah, I love that book. It really helped me out. But Chris?
My wife, just kind of like Jeremiah, she works for the town that we live in, and she's in the finance department. So she prepares the town's taxes. She prepares everything. So she sees tax codes, she sees tax percentages. And the first 2-3 years of business, I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, look, I made $500 today. Let's go to the mall. And about 3 years ago, my wife says, pump the brakes. Think about this. What are you doing for retirement? And I went, oh, well, I'll figure that out later. And she goes, well, why figure it out later when we can figure it out now? So with her, I just said, listen, I'm going to do a check run every Friday. I'm going to deposit all the checks, and you're going to have access to all that accounts, because what we do for our business is everything business-wise is under my name. It's not tied to her. It's solely tied to me. She has access to the accounts. So she sets up the taxes, the retirement, then, goes into the family money. Because I'm a sole proprietor, I still have not done the S Corp and paying myself a salary, because I have an attorney for a brother-in-law who is a tax attorney. And he says, for me right now, because what we make, it's best for me to stay a sole proprietor. But he said, once you hit that certain mark, once you hit that threshold, that's when you become a corporation, and then you start taking a salary. So until we hit that moment, and being in California, I pay taxes for
walking outside the
door. This air I'm breathing. Yeah, the air I'm breathing right now, I'm probably being taxed on. So
yeah, but you see how many clouds are in that sky in the area you're in?
That's true. That's true.
If you could only see the view that I'm looking at, so I'm based out of Napa.
You could turn it around.
So I'm based out of Napa, and all I have are vineyards around me. Let's see. Technologically advanced for this one.
Oh, look at that. That was gorgeous.
Pretty. Wow.
We're gonna have to Sterling show us the Rocky Mountains. So when he's out on vacation right now, he's still kind of nice to join us. So maybe if we got time and the clouds disperse, we'll look at that.
I'll do. Yeah, they're moving out. Yeah, we can do
that. Very cool. Very cool.
Next IWCA convention, Gabe.
That is that what we're gonna do?
Napa Valley. How about that?
Napa Valley.
Yeah, come on out to California, guys.
Well, hope you got a big enough living room for us, Jeremiah.
I could fit this.
Oh, we're losing you, Jeremiah. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. We got you back. All right. Well, I think anything else you want to add on that subject? Biggest mistakes? Can move on to the next one. I think that was excellent. Very, very good advice, sir. So the second one is, what is something you like to tell people who ask you for advice on starting a new business? What's one of the things that you like the advice you give?
Oh, can I go on this? As an old school person who learned all the old school ways, my brain, to become a growth mindset person was a lot of work. And it really took joining a coaching group, a business coaching group, which pretty much catapulted me forward in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise. You can only get yourself so far. And so even if like there are coaching groups that are $100 a month or something, it is worth so much more than that. Because if you're new and especially if you're new and you don't have anything in your head yet, I've watched people go from new businesses to $1 million pressure washing in my coaching group within a couple of years, because they're just following the steps. They're not making all the mistakes the way that, well, I like making mistakes. I like learning the hard way. That's my only way. But, for new people who have like bright, shiny brains, they can follow the steps and it's laid out for them by people who've already done it before. So that I wish I had that didn't exist. Like the internet barely existed when I was like starting out. So I wish that had, and I would really advise people to look at learning from people who already have it in place for them.
Awesome. Good advice.
Yeah. I think for me, I would tell them, to get some education.
Yeah.
In the field that they're doing. And, because I kind of the same thing, Melody, was just learning the hard way. And, I had one guy, he was a window cleaner out of Dallas, kind of approached me. And we were talking, he was like, hey, what do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was like, yeah, I'd like to have this, this, and this. And he was like, well, how are you going to get there? I'm just going to work hard. And I ended up going to a convention, and it was like Melody, it was a whole world opened up.
Yep.
And then I soon discovered, I can't do everything, to grow this company. I can't do everything. And so once you get that first person, that help, you can see a little daylight. And then, now I have 5 techs, then I have a sales guy, things like that. So now I can work on other things and as far as not having to be out in the field. So that education on not just the business, well, it would be the business part of it. And then also, how to do it. Because I was the typical Home Depot guy. Got me a Home Depot pressure washer, and I go back and do some of the work, and I'm like, ooh, that looks ugly. And then when I got some training, that training, I was like, okay, so all concrete's not the same.
Yes.
So yeah.
God, good advice. Very good.
I'll throw out another California thing is safety. When I started out, I would do anything, and I think back on what I survived. I didn't know I was trying to kill myself on. It was like, are you kidding me? And when you have the business mindset and you look at it through the eyes of how do you cover insurances, how do you cover actual safety of your, is it really worth going down that avenue? And if you are doing it the safe way as well as the right way. So any safety component you can throw in the beginning and just focus on what works for you in that area. That I always give that advice. I had a bad ladder fall. So, on a simple job. So I have that really in my mind when I tell new guys how to start out or what they have for advice is just think safety first. It really matters.
I'm with you on that, Jeremiah. I had a back injury when I was just 29, when I still thought I was invincible. And that's really what taught me, like, we look at our body as a tool and we can just hustle it out. But that's what taught me, like, oh, if I'm down and I don't trust my employees, then I'm done. My business is done. And that was my wake up call. And safety, I make everybody take OSHA 10 now, even though it's a pain in the butt. I can't train safety. I was never taught the safe, like I do the worst things. So I want them to have that mindset of being safety conscious from the start, beyond even what I am now. And I can think safety, by the way, but you know what I mean? That old mindset of like, I can climb that roof with nothing to help me,
Yeah. And the thing too is like kind of what you're saying, Melody, when we first started to be OSHA 1910 OSHA 1910 didn't even exist back then. To be certified in anything OSHA was this huge ordeal. Yes. Now they make it so easy, either through Michael Draper's class. If you're a member of the IWCA, there's training there you can take. I mean, it's just it's so much easier. It can be done online,
$50
you don't have to go anywhere.
Yes.
So if you're just starting out, absolutely, just know learn what you don't know, because like you said, Jeremiah, you could be on an easy job. It's, you perhaps you survived some other really kind of sketchy things you've done, and then it's the one where it's just an easy 12-foot climb, and that's where you have the fall, and it changes your life. So absolutely good. Anything else? Chris?
Mine would be investing in yourself and investing in your well-being.
Nice.
Taking that time, taking that inventory of how you're feeling and how you're doing. And that has always been my biggest thing. Is when I first started, it was just simple, clean glass. That's what I'm here to do. I'm going to work in the hot sun. I mean, granted, I'm in California, but today it's supposed to be 102 degrees. How much water am I consuming? What do my shoes look like? How comfortable am I? Do I need a different kind of hat? Do I need to go to the chiropractor? Do I need to take a day off? And that's been my biggest thing, is just the mental well-being of taking time and going, okay, what do I need today to be successful? Because if I'm not looking forward to it today, and I happen to come across, I'm outside a customer's house and the neighbor comes up and I'm hot and I'm sweaty and I'm bothered by, I'm thinking about everything else. It's like, I need to take personal inventory. I need, making sure I have ice cold water, making sure you have Advil, an extra pair of shoes, making sure you have extra pair of socks, just taking that personal inventory of yourself, and you'll go a long way, because I believe for my business, about 60% of what I do is based off my personality.
Yep.
So, I mean, cleaning windows, yes, but I'm outside of a customer's house on a podcast, and they're looking out their kitchen window thinking this is the coolest thing in the whole wide world. So, it's just kind of one of those. It's just, I take a personal inventory of yourself, your mental well-being. Don't be burnt out. Think about what you got to do.
Take days
that's
off.
my advice.
Yeah.
Now I say that, but I don't take days off.
Oh,
but,
no.
For example, my children start school tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm getting a much later day start to tomorrow, and I'm only doing one house. I'll be home before they get home from school.
Yeah.
And that kind of in my brain justifies it. It's like, you didn't take a day off. You're doing a small house, interior, exterior, about 15 windows. You'll be home in no time, and I'll be home for them for the rest of the evening. So,
Yeah. I just kind of, my personal experience with that, I kind of came into that later, that mentality of your body is one of your pieces of equipment that you use for your business, and you need to care for it if you want it to last, just like any other tool, right? If you just bang it around in the truck, it's not going to last long. But if you have a piece of equipment you want to last because it's expensive, then you take care of it, and you protect it, and you make sure you maintain it, and you clean it. I mean, that's what we got to do with our body. And so probably my mid 30s is when I started getting massages, seeing the chiropractor, exercising again, because I had viewed my work as my exercise, which it is, but it's not cardio, you really need to kind of look at yourself like, okay, how am I going to extend my ability to continue working for a certain amount of time, because you do have a certain amount of windows in your body. And then once you hit that number, now what are you going to do? If you don't have any employees, right? I mean, now you're in a position where either you've got to cut back a severe amount of work that you can do, or now you're going to hire under the gun, and you don't know who these people are. You're trusting them with your name. So it's like if you intend to be working for a long time, for years, then you've got to treat your body as a piece of equipment that needs to be cared for and maintained so that it can last those years. So part of it, like you said, is keeping short days on when you can, taking days off, like Melody said, getting the, not view, because I used to view massages as like a luxury, and it's like, no, it's not. This is how you stay active. It's a necessity. And if you view it that way, then you're going to be more inclined to do the things needed for your body to be able to keep going.
And take employees too in that way, encouraging them to do the same things.
Yeah. We do. I have a barter account with a chiropractor, and I let all of my guys know, because he doesn't pay me anything. I just have a billion credits with him. And I said, I want to be able to go in. If I need to go in twice a week for a month, I need to know I have those credits. And he's like so happy with it. He loves it because it's, he doesn't ever have to pay for his windows to be done. And then not only that, but I'm sending my employees over there. And so now that gives him an opportunity to sell to my employees, so it's just kind of that's a little side, benefit that we just kind of fell into that just works really well for my techs are all happy about that too, because they know if they have any problems, they'll be cared for, until they're better. So it's pretty cool.
And it also kind of ties into what we do for ourselves, for the business, ties back to the first question. My response to the first question is the tax write-off. So the shoes that I'm wearing, the hat I'm wearing, the sunblock I'm wearing, the bottles of water I'm drinking, you can't write off energy, you can't write off sugar, but it all ties into, you can write that off as well. So why would you not want to take care of yourself when you have to pay for it up front, but you don't pay for it in the long run? So that's just
I run on tacos, so I hope tacos are deductible.
You and I both, Gabriel. You and I both.
Anything else there on that question? I do have one more to add, but I didn't want to cut anybody off if you have ideas.
Okay.
I've got a few things I could add, Gabe.
Dan.
This question was about what advice to give when someone's starting their business. So I just had a couple little things to mention. Was you guys already touched on it. Jeremiah brought it up first. Never compromise safety. The goal for us all is to go home at the end of the night. So part of that touches on what Chris has mentioned as well, of how you treat your body, how you treat yourself. Take some time off. Your family needs you more than your customers need you, believe it or not. So don't look back on your life. 20 years goes by fast. I was with Melody, right? When you're young, you think that you're young, strong, and invincible, but you gotta carve out the time for your family, because you're going to look back and your kids are going to be out of your house and what's going on. So thankfully, this line of work, I can't believe it, because when I first found out about window cleaning, my first question was, you can make a living at that? And we're not high-rise people. But this year we paid our house off, so we're completely out of debt.
Oh, congrats.
We have no student loans. We have no credit card debt. We have no mortgage. We have no auto loans. We're putting away in our retirement. We send our kid to a private Christian school. He's away at camp right now for 2 weeks that, frankly, I could have taken a family vacation with what that camp cost. But it's all tied into this beautiful industry that I didn't know that you could even make a living at. So now I told my wife that, my son is going into 8th grade. Now that we've paid off all debts, my goal as a husband and father is to take my family on at least 2 vacations a year. Because you can't have time back. You can have a lot of money, but you can't get time back. So that was something to go home at the end of the shift, but also, people that glorify working 7 days a week. No. That's absolutely. That's not a good idea. I know once in a while you have to suck it up because of a deadline, but if you're starting out in business and you're thinking that the hustle is working 7 days a week, you're going to find that you're going to probably end up being bitter and angry in your life because you're burning out. So that was one thing, is just safety. I too, like Jeremiah, had a terrible ladder fall back in 2014, and that changed my mindset on safety big time. The second thing that I wanted to mention was work towards being colleagues with with your competitors in the area. Don't view them as competitors. Now, of course, we all want to be top dog in our area, right? That's not saying we don't put our best effort out there, but how we view the people, the other window cleaners or power washing professionals in our area can go a long way. I still get referrals, and like I said, I've been doing this over 20 years. I'm still getting referrals from a gentleman that is a window cleaner in our area. He had a pole break or a clamp break one day, and he stopped by my house, and I gave him one, no charge. go out and fix your pole, and now he can go out and make money on an account that I had bid on. But when you start viewing the people in your area as colleagues, the communication is really an awesome thing, because we have called each other on certain customers and just said, hey, you might want to be aware of this one. Yeah. And you don't do that for people that you're competitors with, right? You like, I hope they get them all, right?
Right.
But being a collaborative thing, there's so much glass out there that if they all went out of business and you're like, look at me, I'm king of the mountain, you're going to be drowning in it all.
Yes.
So if you can, when you're starting your business, a lot of times you're going to, matter of fact, when some new guys have started up in my area, I've shot them some work. I've sent them work.
Yes.
And, because we're so booked up, and it goes a long way with your customer if you can provide a solution for them, even if you're not the solution. So being colleagues more than competitors is super important. Making friends with realtors, property managers, moms groups, because oftentimes when we start our business, we don't have any money.
Yes.
Right? So how can I grow my business without much money? And it speaks to, I believe Sterling might have said something about buying equipment, too much of the cutting edge equipment right away. And then you get yourself in trouble, right? Because it just sits and you don't use it. So how can you grow your business without much money? You can make friends with real estate agents. You can make friends with property managers. You can make friends in moms groups, and all of these things. It's just free advertising, and they're connected. And they'll bring you so much work that will compound itself and bring even more work, because once you get in a neighborhood, all the neighbors want you to. So if you want to try to grow it without a lot of money, that's a good way to do it.
Piggybacking on that, knowing your customer, because in residential, most people don't think about it, but, and I've looked at my customer base, 85% of the customers are female, and most of the people in the industry are male. So they don't necessarily, a lot of times they'll brand their company to the things they like to see. They'll brand their company without thinking about who's actually going to be looking at it, who's going to be, who they're marketing to. And if they can figure out what women want, I mean, if we could all figure that out, right, guys?
That's why we had John, Melody. Actually, this is we're hoping you can spill some secrets.
Well, I think this is the secret.
I'm taking notes.
Is like, if you can figure it out and find the people who are like those, the people that you want to be working for, invite them to coffee and talk to them. They will tell you what they didn't like about a service company, what they don't like. Ask them those questions. How can I do a good job for my customers? Before you even start, you can do this, talking to people in the community, but women, because those, not that guys aren't customers too, of course they are, but women make the financial decisions of the households, and women are the people who will usually call. Commercial is a different story, but if you're starting in residential, that's like a big tip I have for people.
Well, my contribution to the discussion, well, first of all, just about training, just real quick, I do want to give a shout out to Jeff Hansen. Jeff Hansen is his name? Yeah, Jake Hansen. Sorry, I knew that didn't sound right. Jake Hansen. He has a website, learntocleanwindows.com, I think is what it is. Let me get that right since I'm shouting them out. Learntocleanwindows.com, and it's a basic training course, online course that you can pay. It's mainly for employers. You can get a subscription, and then as you get new people come in, they can watch. It has just a whole bunch of different articles on every aspect of window clean that you can imagine. They have to take a test and they can pass it, but you can also, as an individual, just buy a month membership and just do everything you can and learn from it. And so I've taken the course just because I was curious to what I would be telling my employees, and I absolutely love it because it's broad enough that it doesn't like put people into a specific field or type of equipment, but it's also specific enough that it addresses things like screens, all the different types of screens, all the different types of windows, kind of how to water feed, safety. I mean, just covers a whole range of topics that I know when I had started, I wish I had that website to look after, because I had questions that lasted me, 6-7 years until I finally ran into someone who gave me the answer to it. Dan?
Yeah, and you can also go to the IWCA convention and have one Jeremiah Hickey teach you the old two-handed method.
Gabe, I actually have to say that I should be talking to Jake Hansen, because what I've actually have a training system, but it's for business owners who want to hire employees and train them. It's actually all the checklists that you would need of all the different things you need to train an employee on, metrics sheets to keep track of their training progress. So I'll give examples of videos. I don't give my videos out for the one I created, but it's the thing that made my company most successful as I was building it, was getting the training system in place. So I think his thing is different than what I'm offering, but that's something that I also offer when people are ready to have employees.
Very cool. Very cool.
He's from my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Melody, what's
Jake's my neighbor.
Yeah. So the other thing that I tried to
neighboring town.
I'll tell you after, Sterling. It's okay.
Okay.
What were you gonna say something, Sterling?
No, I was going to ask Melody what was the name of her system that she created.
Okay. That's a great idea, because I've sold it to 2 whole people and I never put it. I have a landing page and I have a QR code and I don't know what the name of it is. I have like a bit.ly thing for it. I just don't know how to access it. That's why I'm really bad at this. So
you can put it in the comments too.
I will. I'll put it in the comments, because I'm releasing it really at the Huge. I'm going to give talking about it. So
very cool.
Yeah, I've been meaning to sell it for years, and I kind of finally pulled it all together to be able to just give it out to people and get it to people. But I
think that's advice you should give. Advice you should give to a new person is know the name of your business.
And know your website.
You know what? Actually, guys, I know where they can find it. Go to melodythings.com. It actually has a link there. So there you go.
Well, actually, that leads me to the other thing that I wanted to share, which was make sure your online presence is up to par. And that's the first thing I always ask anyone who's new, who's saying, I just started my business. Can you tell me how to get customers, or can you tell me what I need to do? That's the first thing I say, is make sure you're online present. So make sure you have a Google My Business page, which has changed now. It's through the maps. It's just, they don't have their website. So I'm not really sure what they're calling it, but that's basically what it is. Just, you want to have your registered business name with Google so you can get Google reviews, because Google reviews are gold. I mean, obviously other ones are great too. Yelp and Facebook and Angelus, those are wonderful. But the Google reviews, those are the ones that affect the algorithm so much more than any other. So you want to start building those up. But then also
because they're going to look at Google first.
That's it. They're going to Google window cleaning, whatever the area they're in. It's going to be in Google. That's where they're going to go. Yeah. But also the other thing that a lot of people don't think about, and this is one I kind of just stumbled into, was getting control of all of your other side accounts that they have, like on citysearch.com, yellowpages.com. I mean, there's like 60 different of these. Just they'll never contact you. They'll never tell you anything about them. They live off of someone searching and hoping you don't have a good internet presence, and they'll pop up. And so you got to take control of each of your pages. Put your logo on there, put some pictures on there, make sure your hours are consistent through all of them, make sure the phone numbers are right. I mean, I have this one phone number that was old that I used to have in the 90s. I no longer use it. That thing pops up all over the place. I'm always going through and taking that off because it'll pop up under my business name, and they're going to just get a dead signal. So if you're consistent with all of that, when the customer is looking and they're doing research on you, like maybe someone refers you and they're like, I never heard of this person. Let me do a Google search. They'll search your name. If you pop up on one of those sites, you're going to be consistent. So that's going to tell them, oh, this is a legitimate company. Look at there's not just a fly-by-night who has a landing page and nothing else to show for them as far as whether they're legit or not. And when you do that, plus you also get, if you put your website in there, that's one of those, what are those called? The backlinks. Yeah. You start getting help with that on getting your website boost up too. So it's just one of those things that you don't ever think about, but it makes a big difference when you're first starting out and just trying to get close, climb that little ladder of the Google algorithm when people are searching window cleaning. So Dan?
Can I add to that? Because that was one of my last things as I was thinking and preparing some thoughts for a new business owner. that ties into create a professional online presence. Back when most of us started, this wasn't how we advertised. So it took a long time to get traction as a business owner when you're advertising in the phone books, and that was very expensive. And if you covered multiple towns or counties or regions, you had to advertise on each of those separate books, and it got very expensive fast, especially as a new business owner when you don't have a lot of money. But now with advertising on the internet and using Google, there's a gentleman in my area who has only been in business maybe 3 years. And his online presence, it looks like he's more dominant than some of the other guys that's been doing this for 40 years or 30 years, just because he's savvy enough how to represent himself online with a good professional page.
Don't you think young people like who are coming in are more adept at that anyway? Like I feel like I'm always trying to keep up. They're way ahead. So they might be they can teach us some stuff, new people who are doing it.
Yeah. Yes.
The suggestion that I would have is don't use stock photos. Please,
Oh,
for
yes.
the love of all that is holy, don't use stock photos.
Yeah.
I mean, it cheapens your brand. Please take some photos of you out on a job site, or have someone take a photo of you doing some work on some job sites and upload those. That goes a long way.
Yeah. Chris, you had something?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of piggyback off Dan for a brief moment on the making your competitors your colleagues. I found myself in the beginning of my business with our local window cleaners. I followed them on Instagram and Facebook, and I go, man, they're so busy. I'm never going to be there. I'm never going to be that way. And I used to let it control my mindset that I'm never going to be as big or as busy as they are. I would drive down a random street in Napa and their truck's there. And I'm like, I've advertised everywhere. I'm on Nextdoor. I'm on Angie's. I'm everywhere. Why am I not as busy as they are? And so what I've always done is I've always just reached out to the competitors. Since we're a very small town, I just reach out and I say, hey, I'd like to pick your brain. There's enough glass for all of us. You had her on your podcast about a year ago. Her name is Heather Ryder. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, I've got to crush everybody. I text Heather. She texts me. We DM each other. We send funny memes. You know, she has a question about something. I have a question about something. You know, we reach out to each other all the time. She just helped me a couple months ago on a huge HOA project. I would have not been able to do that project by myself. Reached out to her. She made it happen. She made time out of her schedule. And it's just like, don't let what you see on the internet or on social media control your state of mind. Yeah. Use it for motivation. I would see a local window cleaner knocking out 2 or 3 homes a day in my neighborhood. And I'd go, man, that is so unfair. And I would sit at home and I'd go, how dare they? But then I went, but I would sit at home and I'd go, how dare they? But then I'd go, oh, wait a second. I need to feed my family. So how am I going to make this work? So I would go to business. I had my business cards and I'd just go throw them indoors or throw them on front porches and just let it go from there. And, you know, the next thing I know, they're driving by me going, dude, how are you so busy? And it's like, this is how I did it. So
when people come and go every single year, people start window cleaning companies, service companies. Every single year I've been in business, there's been a couple new companies a year, and then they're gone within a year or two. But I don't ever feel like because business is lonely. It is lonely to be a window cleaner. Online is one thing, but it's so fun to meet people in person, to get to talk stuff, to work together. If you, just like he said, like that's one of the best tips, I think, because I love being able to catch up with other local people and help them, and they could help me.
Yeah,
I'd like to go in on Gabe's thing about the online presence too, since we're kind of overlapping ideas though, is don't get stuck in one thing, because technology changes and the way things operate change. So absolutely Google's dominant right now. And if you're not capitalizing on that, we all should be. But in 2000, I was the only company with a website in my area for years, and it was great. And then everything changed and became more online dominant, and I didn't update anything. And then all of a sudden, it was like that website wasn't activating the way it should have, because everybody was fresh and everybody was new and had websites that had all the necessary things. So as technology changes, as markets change, just don't get frozen in the way you started. Adapt, and it makes a big difference.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think just like
Okay.
I was going to say, just like everybody else, I think it's, having not seeing them as competitors, but as, creating friendships. I have a couple of companies in the area that, we refer business to one another. And, I've had some that call and said, hey, I have a commercial client that called about, kind of see if they get cheaper rates. And so he was telling me about the company, and he said, don't worry, my price is going to be like 10 times higher. They're not going to. So it's that camaraderie that's awesome. Being able to talk to other owners.
I got a $20,000 commercial job off of a window cleaner who I had coffee with, who I had reached out to, just because I want to connect with people. Yeah. He got a housing authority that had called him, and he can't do that. He called me and said, hey, I have this guy, you should reach out. And I got that job. That's something that happens all the time.
Yeah. Not only that, but like, for instance, I have a gentleman who used to work for me just briefly. He was already an experienced window cleaner. He was kind of slow in his business. He worked for me, and I kind of took him under my wing and helped him. He ended up figuring he wanted to try it out on his own again. He's doing wonderful. But what he's been able to help me out is, now that we're slow, I've been able to send my guys over to help him out on some projects, because he's a single guy. So that helps him, because now he's got help on some of these bigger jobs. But it helps me because I'm not so worried about, do I have work for these guys? Now they're staying busy, and it's helping me to keep my guys happy, while it's also helping him out. So you get that kind of synergy going between quote unquote competitors. And you start to see that there's benefits that come your way, instead of always, the tendency is to, if someone leaves and starts their own business, you cut them off. Oh, how could they do that? They stabbed me in the back, and now they're going to take my money. Yeah. My thing is if you're worried that someone is going to leave you for another guy for a few less dollars, you're not doing your job as far as being a quality window cleaner, because people will be more than happy to pay more money to you if they know you're going to do a good job, you're going to be dependable, and they can trust you and they like you.
Absolutely.
You don't have to worry about price. So whenever I always hear people fighting, someone came in here and they're undercutting me, and they get all upset. And I'm like, well, then maybe do a better job cleaning windows, because then people will be happy to pay you the more money, Yeah.
The only competition is ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
Yeah. It's much like track and field, is different than a lot of like football and baseball, where there's a lot of rivalry, right? But if you've ever been involved in track and field, it's a completely different vibe, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a scripture verse that says, why compare yourself amongst yourself, because it's unwise and it's foolish. And it ties right into what Chris Ray was talking about. If my eyes are on the goal for my own company, I don't have to worry about what the people in my area are doing.
Yep.
If I'm doing my job and doing it well, and I'm treating people like I'd like to be treated,
mm-hmm.
I really don't have to be looking around all the time and saying,
mm-hmm.
Are they catching me? Am I still dominant? Because you're running your race. When someone runs a marathon, there's only one winner, right?
Yeah.
But everybody that finishes has
achieved something,
and has accomplished quite an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So that would be a thing that I would tie in with Chris as well, right? Once you mentally get to a place where you're like, I'm just gonna look at the goals for my company, and I think this is one of the things that bothers me a little bit. I'll answer just about any question on a forum, but when someone says, how much would you charge for? I'm like, oy vey. Because Jeremiah and Chris in California may need to make more money on a job than I may need in New Hampshire, or I may need to make more money than someone in West Virginia, depending upon how much things cost, to live in a place.
Yeah.
So you have to just say, how much do I want to make per hour? And, and try to start there. So if you're wondering how much to charge for something, I would say just set a baseline of how much do you really want to make, and then divide that out upon how many panels of glass you can clean per minute, and figure it out that way. And then if you're landing every job you bid, you might want to bump your prices up some.
Always. Yeah.
Good advice. Good
But,
advice.
but we're not as Melody said, really the competition is with ourselves. We really want to stretch ourselves and grow and be the best version of ourselves.
Have a growth mindset. Always be learning, always be growing. Yeah.
4 years ago, a real quick story. 4 years ago, I pull up to the gas station and there's another window cleaner. They've been predominant for 20 years. They've ran the valley for 20 years. And I hop out of my truck with my magnet signs because that's all I could afford at the time. And he says, he looks and laughs and he says, "You'll be gone tomorrow."
Mm.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I said, he's like, "You'll be gone tomorrow." And I said, "Oh, as competitors, I thought we would want to come together. You're old school. I'd like to help you," and so on and so forth. And he said, "Within a year, you'll be gone. And if you're not gone within the year, I'll make sure to take you out of the industry." I said, "Okay, best of luck to you, sir. Have a great day." It's funny enough, 6 months ago, he's calling me saying, "Do you have any additional work? My employees need something."
Mm.
And I said, and I laughed and I said, "Oh, I don't think you realize who this is. This is the guy that you told you were going to put out of business 4 years ago." And I still, to this day, use that every time I pull up to the gas station. I just think about it. I'm going, God, look at where I was 4 years ago. I was scared. I was teetering. Now he's calling me saying, "Oh, do you have any additional work?" It's like, sorry, that was
That's a fixed mindset that a lot of old school people have. Fixed mindsets versus growth mindsets. And it sucks. It's hard to not be in a fixed mindset when you've been in business for so long.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
that's too. I mean, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, all those guys, as great as they are, used every little slight, any little slight, to really feed and let that fester inside of them to grow and to prove people wrong. And there you are, Chris. There you are. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna put me out of business, huh? And you let that fester inside of you. You let that just gnaw at you to make you a better man and a better business owner. And here you are.
It made me so angry. I went home, went on to Microsoft Word, and I made, because that's all I could afford at the time. I went on Microsoft Word and I tried to make the nicest flyer I could. I tried it and I said, "You know what? This guy is not going to get to me." Well, in reality, he got to me, but I also in my town handed out 250 flyers. And within 3 weeks, I'd taken probably 30 new customers on.
Nice.
And I said, "Oh, okay. This is all right. That's what I needed. I needed the motivation to see. I needed the motivation to be inspired, and that took it to a whole nother level." And going to customer's house. Now, I will never make this competitor a colleague. I'll make everybody else in my town a colleague, but he'll never be a competitor. I'm going to homes, and they're like, "Yeah, he a year ago he just something happened."
Yep.
And it's like he's no longer reliable. He's no longer this. And I said, "Well, hi, I'm Chris. I own Vineyard View Window Cleaning. Nice to meet you. Here's an estimate. Here's my proof of insurance. Oh, he did it for this much? All right. Well, I'm going to be doing it for this much." Next thing I know, they're telling their neighbor, and their neighbor. Sorry, it's my little tangent.
But that also shows how much our attitude is so important. If we and I think when you get on the forums and you get these people on, and they're kind of they're antagonistic and they're braggy and they're telling look at me, look at this, and whatever. I mean, there's certainly an entertainment value to doing something like that. But the bottom line is, if those people are running on the gasoline of self-promotion in that way, and to try and put other people down at the same time, that's finite. that can only last so long. You know, whereas you just focus, like you said, like we've been saying, on yourself, on what you offer to the client. That's what's going to last, right? That's what's going to last. Not you telling other people. Oh, sorry, Sterling, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and for me, it spilled over to employees because I did buy a company that had been in business since '85, and so they had a window cleaner. He's been cleaning windows for 20 some odd years, and then the other guy, he was 8 or 10 years, and so then my newer guys come, then they'll take well, I know more than you, and I can kind of hold on to this information, which makes me more valuable, and you have to come to me if you want something. So we have to tell trying to create that atmosphere of if everybody knows everything, it makes everybody's jobs easier.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I got one. We have two left, but we're gonna crush them together because they're kind of the same. And so the one was, what was one of the things you struggled with most when you started your business, and the other was, what did you wish you knew before you decided you went out on your own? So you can answer either or. They kind of both have the same thought of, when you started, what would you have changed to have made your transition easier to being a business owner?
Oh, I know this one. I worked with my mentor for 10 years as a window cleaner. He was brilliant in many ways, but not in business. He had the mind of an engineer. So in window cleaning, we were amazing. Business, we had the old paper receipts, thousands of them unorganized. Everything was paper. So I wish that I had understood back then that is not how a business is run, and that I didn't have to keep everything that he taught me. That I didn't know. I don't know why, but 10 years with somebody, you really hold on to what they did, what worked for them. So it took me probably 3 times longer to push forward to where I ended up than it should have, just because I was holding on to the old ways. And so in terms of new people coming in, maybe you don't have experience. When you go on those forums, take it with a grain of salt, because those people, everybody has a different opinion. Use what works for you, because your brain is going to be different. Like, I was always trying to put myself into the business box of like, these successful people, they do business this way. But I'm ADD. I didn't learn that till I was 30. And learning that made me realize I can't do business that way. I have to do it the way that works for me. So that's what I've always done since then. And that's how you can really be successful for me, and hopefully for other people.
Awesome.
Mine was finding a mentor in the industry and being vulnerable to criticism and feedback. And that was one of my biggest things was, I don't know, I'm sure we all know who he is, but Steve Richardson, the window cleaner. I talk to Steve every single day, from being burnt out, from family, equipment, just everything. I talk to him every single day. And, he's old. I'm older than him. He's been in the industry longer than I have. But just having that mentor of like, I'm having such a problem with this piece of glass. I'm going to film it. Tell me what you think. And, hey, take another extra step on the ladder. Hey, don't use your rag in this. Like, just being vulnerable to criticism and feedback, and having that mentor that's been in the industry, that's run a business. I have a customer that I use, and that he's a mentor to me, but we're in a completely different industry. He owns a plumbing company. He has 27 employees. His first bit of advice to me was, do everything in your power, buy every tool you need in order to not have to hire an employee. You hire that employee, you're hiring their personality, you're hiring their family, you're hiring their addiction, you're hiring their tendencies. In my opinion, that meant so much to me that I was like, I need a water-fed pole. I don't need somebody to hold the bottom of the ladder. I just need a water-fed pole. And, also reaching out to Steve Richardson, and also just, having an open line of communication with people within our industry that are successful. I mean, the plumber's been in industry he's been in the Valley for 50 years. He's the biggest plumber in the industry. he knows what he's talking about. And so, you know, I take him out to coffee at least once a month, and he asks me, what are my plans? Where do I see myself in 5 years? What am I doing? And he's my mentor. Like, finding that mentor and just sticking with it. And even though he might disagree with what I have to say, take the advice into consideration. There's a reason he's been in business 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
good stuff.
that's me.
I think I fall back, you know, the you know, struggling in the business part was, you know, it was, you know, from equipment into to the knowledge of you know, bookkeeping and all those things that I struggled with. So, you know, I'm a huge proponent of, you know, when talking to someone that's coming in new and they're asking you questions, is, you know, you get that education from the business side, you get some education from, you know, from the from the window cleaning side and things like that. So you have all that information together before you get started, and I think it'll save you a lot of times. Like Melody, I always have to learn the hard way. That was me, and so that would be my advice to someone. Yeah.
I think the thing I wish I would have known at somebody's talking.
No, go ahead.
Anyway, what I wish I knew at the beginning, I was in my brain, I was always cutting edge. There was only old school people in my area. And I was forward thinking. What I didn't know about myself and what I was going to face was when things get really tough, either in your personal life or in business, if I would have the resolve to make it through. And I didn't know that at the beginning. I didn't know that was reality, that would happen. So I have had the resolve to make it through, but I also hope that other people starting businesses realize that there's going to be really tough times, and if they have the resolve, they will make it through.
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah. Final thought for me on that side of things is, I didn't know about, and I'm not trying to turn it into an IWCA commercial, but really in 2016, when I joined up with the IWCA and I went to my first convention, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even know this entity existed. And when I found out about IWCA and I joined that propelled me in my business. Just networking with, as Chris was talking to about his mentor. You connect with people who do what you do, and you don't get jealous because honestly, someone in Los Angeles should be running 20 people on their crew, but someone in Cal Country probably won't have 20 people on their crew. You know, so it's okay not to get in the comparison race, but to network with successful people, to say, where do I want to see myself? How do I get there? And talk to people who have walked it and lived it. It's amazing. And then, of course, all the educational classes and the certifications you get. It was a game changer for me at Squeegee Clean. And that's what I wish I would have known when I first started my business in 2020.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, we are out of time, man. We've already run up against it, but thank you so much for everything that you guys have shared. I think people who are starting are going to really benefit from this Flowcast and the information and the wisdom from all of you guys. So thank you all again. It's any last things you guys want to share before we sign off here?
Thank you, Gabe.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You're doing a great job, Gabe. Yep.
Thanks. And thank you, Flowmies, for listening. We know if you guys want to share this video with anyone who you think could use it, please do. But as always, you guys take care and flow on.